What is going on, Nuggets Nation and basketball fans? Tom Leuthner back, and let's hop into another episode of Nuggets Today. I'm rocking the throwback JaVale McGee jersey. Not sure if you can see that, Mountains jersey. Kept the good vibes with JaVale because I feel like there is some light in what we saw even after such a terrible game. And I think that there's a couple things to unfold here. First thing I want to unfold is Shea admitting that they were desperate in his post-game interview. It didn't mean anything because they blew us out, but it was just nice to hear. It's nice to hear that a team is coming in and they're actually nervous to play us, especially because I know with Jokic there, a team's always going to be nervous to play you. But with how weak our bench has been, it's nice to finally hear that a team was coming in, they were nervous, they were desperate to get a win out of us because we took one from their home. And again, we saw this kind of blowout against the Clippers. We also did it to the Clippers. So we're hoping that this happens again in our favor now when we come home and we play with that same physicality. We'll get to that later. Another aspect of good news, I guess you could say, is Jokic fouled out, so he wasn't there the entire game. Again, we lost by like 40. Doesn't even matter if he fouled out or not. He was getting frustrated, so hopefully we see some ref changes. Again, we'll get to that in a little while. They shot insanely efficient from the field, from the three-point line, from the free throw line. We don't know if that is a constant thing or consistent thing for the Thunder. They're a great team. We know that. We know that they could put up points, but their numbers were insane compared to our numbers. I mean, when you look at obviously the free throw numbers doesn't matter because we'll get to that later, but you look at what they shot from the field, and they weren't missing. Isaiah Joe didn't miss a shot. I mean, he was playing with their bench, and you sort of get upset that they have a bench guy out there, a rotational guy out there with their bench, but that is their bench. He's one of the last guys off their bench, and that's how impressive it is. And listen, they're stacked, but I don't think that they keep that level of play up throughout this entire series because they're going to get tired. They're going to fade. You know what? Let them have it. They had a game at home. I'm not saying that I'm confident that we're going to go win 4 straight, but I'm also not confident that they could win 4 straight. Can it happen? Sure, it could happen. It could happen to any team. I just don't think they'll be able to pull out 4 straight against us, especially at home. The only thing that's tough is that this is the first series that Jokic and Murray didn't have home court advantage heading into the next round. So that is a little tough. 2 more things I want to cover in this topic. The first one being something that we talked about. Russell Westbrook looks amazing. He really does. And I think that he needs to work into the starting rotation. That's something I covered. I think it's time for Westbrook to start and Porter to come off the bench. I just think that Porter doesn't look good. Jokic, again, we'll get into that in this next topic. Jokic already made a comment about MPJ. But I think that it's time for Russ to get into the starting lineup, and we might have to run a little bit smaller, but I think it's time to work in those guys. And that's the next thing I want to say about this topic is our bench players showed some offensive, hope late in the game. Obviously, we weren't coming back from that. We weren't winning. They couldn't stop them defensively, but Strother looked okay. I think it's time for Strother to start getting his minutes. I think it's time for him to start getting his cookies. That's where I come in and I get a little mad at David Adelman because I think Strother should get his minutes out there. Zeke Naji didn't look amazing, didn't look terrible. Why not put that body, a young body with fresh legs out there when they're going to put young bodies with fresh legs out there? Jokic made a comment about Jalen Williams, so talking about Jokic, let's just hop into that, and then I'll get to what I was going to say. That next topic right now is, does Jokic need to step up earlier in the game? Because I think he does. We see that Jokic obviously gets a little frustrated, and there's not much that you can do about that. You're not getting any calls when you're driving into the paint, and they're getting all the calls when they're driving to the paint. They're taking jump shots and getting calls, and we're not getting a single call, and Jokic is getting mauled down there. But I really do think we saw Jokic try to take over. He started taking more shots from the outside. He started taking, one dribble, fadeaway jump shots. Those are things that we like to see from Jokic. I'm not saying I don't want to see him inside, but now you're realizing, okay, Chet and Hartenstein are there, and they have height, and they have bigger bodies, and when they're tired, they bring in Jalen Williams. So you start, as a fan, you start to realize, okay, Jokic might need to step up. He's that guy. He might need to step up earlier in the game. Again, I'd rather see him take more jump shots. I covered this yesterday. I don't want to see Jamal Murray playing. I don't want to see us playing through Jamal Murray. I want to see us playing through Jokic. I think that's more important. So I would like to see Jokic take more initiative in the beginning of the game. Get the ball. I want to go. I'm going to create my shots. And then if I need to pass it. Stop looking for assists so early in the game and start working on your points. And then you know what? All you need to do is, because they're trying to get to you anyway, get your buckets earlier in the game. And then next thing you know, they got 3 guys on you and somebody's open. Again, our shooting was awful last night. And I hope that doesn't remain the case for the rest of the series, because I don't think it will. We're a semi-decent shooting team, even though we don't take a lot of threes. But I think that Jokic needs to go for his buckets before anything else, especially in this next game. And talking about him getting mauled, let's cover it. I don't mean to be that fan that says, you know what, the refs blew the game, because they didn't. It wasn't the refs. We know that. They beat us from the outside, and it's tough to see Jokic get mauled like that, because then you're playing with this aggressive style of basketball. In the post-game interview, actually, Jokic stated, he said that, Aaron Gordon stated, they're always getting the second call, but they're not getting the first call, which means Jokic is going in. Patrick Beverley tweeted about it, actually, which is very interesting for me. Patrick Beverley, a pesky guy who he knows his calls because he was usually the one that was getting in that foul trouble. He tweeted about it, saying that their calls weren't going both ways. And when you see an NBA vet or an experienced, retired player saying it, then you know it's a little bit of a problem. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, it's the refs, but as somebody who played basketball in the past, you know that when the refs aren't giving you the calls and all the calls are going the other way, you're going to get frustrated and you're going to play frustrated. You're not going to play the game of basketball patient, and especially with the Nuggets. I know they like to go in transition, but when we're not going in transition, we like to play a slower pace of basketball where we're relaxed and playing our game. We can't do that when we're frustrated. Another thing you see is Jokic isn't getting a call. Gordon's not getting a call. Murray's not getting a call. Russ isn't getting a call. And instead of getting back on defense, what do? They sit there and complain, and I don't blame them. You're getting mauled, and then they're getting fouls on jump shots coming down. I think that the Jalen Williams pushing Jokic and Russ stepping in, Russ getting a tech and Jalen only getting a personal foul was crazy. I think that Hartenstein fully shoving Westbrook into the stands after a layup that he blocked, I think that was a no call. It's crazy. You see his arms extended. Maybe it wasn't this brutal, flagrant foul, but that should be a foul at least, because if it was also on the other side, they're getting that call. So again, I don't think that was the reason we lost, so to say, but I think that 100% plays into it, because then we're playing aggressive basketball. And talking about aggressive, that's the last thing I want to cover here. And the aggressiveness. We need to see Denver be more aggressive. My main take, and what I got so frustrated with, again, I covered the zone yesterday, but when you see them coming down on a fast break, you need, 100% need, to be able to, if you're going to foul them, and I'm not saying foul them hard, I'm not saying blatant foul, but if you are going to attempt to foul, or, attempt to stop them, and it's going to be a foul, you need to alter that shot. You can't give them a weak foul. Chet's going on a weak, and again, it's a 7-footer on Jamal Murray, but this is the prime example, because it was one bad time where they got an N1 coming down. Jamal Murray fouls Chet, easy little weak foul, and Chet just goes up for an N1 layup, and now that's another 3 on the board. We can't afford to do that. And I'm not one to say go out and foul hard. I'm not one to say we need to go out and foul when they're running on fast break. All I'm saying is, if you're going to attempt to make a stop and it's going to be a foul, you need to alter the shot. That's all you need to do. Another thing, we're letting them blow by us. It blows my mind, right? And I'm not saying Jokic needs to get back. We all know he's not the most athletic, not the fastest guy. And again, I'll give Jokic his fair share of compliments everywhere I can. But he's not a fast, athletic guy. So it's his fault that he's going to be the first one back. But how are you letting him be the first one back on your team? He's not the fastest guy. You're telling me that Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Russell Westbrook aren't faster than Jamal Murray and could get down the court before him? Because if so, that's a little embarrassing. So again, I think that Denver needs to be more aggressive. They need to come out with a more aggressive pace. Way too many turnovers. We blew them out in turnovers. That can't happen either, because we like to play in transition. So we have to be aggressive with the ball then. No more weak passes where they're going to be able to come and just steal it from behind. I mean, no more weak entry passes. No more little dishes. Be aggressive. Fight for the foul if you're going to get the foul. Play aggressive defense. And again, we need to step up in this next game. We're down. We're not down, but after that kind of outcome, it seems like we're down, and all the energy going into Game 3 is going to be that we're down, even though it's our home court. So those are the things I like to cover today. I think that there's a chance that we can take this series. There's a higher chance maybe that OKC takes it. But if you just cover the basics, that's what's going to get us to stop them. Again, the aggressiveness. Again, refs were terrible. Not saying the refs were the reason we lost, but we need Jokic to go out. We need Jokic to be the star player that he is, that can take over games immediately. We saw some potential in the young guys that were playing. Maybe they get some more minutes next game if David Adelman makes the decision to change up the rotation, because I think it's time to do that. And we need to be aggressive. Those are the 3 main things. Change up the rotation a little bit, let our star player take over, and be more aggressive. Anyway, that's going to be all from me today, guys. Thanks for checking it out. Hope to see you guys, again, a little bit happier after Game 3. See you guys soon.